Hello, everyone, and welcome to Superman Homepage Live, brought to you by supermanhomepage.com, the number one Superman fan site in the world. In this, our April 7th, 2025 show, we are going to do an analysis of the 5-minute preview of the upcoming Superman movie. We're going to be discussing it blow by blow, and we'll also talk about some of the interviews that have come out of CinemaCon with the cast and director of the upcoming Superman movie. We'll also, if we have time, get into some of the merchandise that's that's coming out soon, not just for the movie, but elsewhere as well. And if we have time, we'll take some questions. But we've got other segments that we regularly get through. But joining me tonight, as always, are my two good friends and co-hosts, Michael Bailey. How are you, Mike?
Hey, Steve, how's it going?
Doing well. And Mark Lax. Welcome, Mark.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Doing very well. And before we get into tonight's topics, just a bit of housekeeping as far as some of the things we need to get across to you. We are thankfully sponsored by a couple of great people who are financially helping us keep this show alive. So I want to thank our sponsors and patrons. Let's see who they are. We've got Douglas Meacham, John Patrick Van Pelt, and Tina Murray, and Rick Schutzow. So thank you to those four fine people for sponsoring the show. And if you'd like to join those fine folks, I'm tongue-tied today, fine folks, and be a sponsor of Superman Homepage Live, then it's very simple to do. All you have to do is click the join button there on YouTube. There are different levels of membership with different levels of perks. Or you can go to Patreon. Just head to patreon.com/Superman Homepage. So once again, thank you to those four people for keeping this show alive. All right, now if you're watching this live, we do, if we have time, like to take live callers. Michael, how do they get involved in tonight's show if we do have time?
Oh, it's really simple. All they have to do is go to supermanhomepage.com/live and press the call now button, and they'll be taken to our green room where they can watch the show as we're doing it and wait for us to bring them on. Or if you want to do it on your phone, you can scan the QR code that's right next to me, and that'll take you to the same place. Now, if you are using your desktop or laptop to watch the show and you want to be on and you're using an external speaker, you're going to have to mute that. I do apologize. And if you are using your smartphone, you will have to use some kind of headset or AirPod or whatever, because for whatever reason, when people use their speakerphone, there's this weird crackle that I just assume is Mr. Mxyzptlk trying to ruin everything for us.
Very good. And look, if you're a little bit shy and you don't want to get on the phone tonight, or we don't have time, then if you're watching this either via YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, then there is a comment section. We can see everything you're saying, chatting with fellow fans, or you might want to ask a question of us, the panel, and we're happy to react to any questions or comments you might have. But if you would like your question or comment featured on the screen as we go live tonight, then that is called a super chat on YouTube. All you have to do is click the dollar symbol. A slider will appear on your screen. You decide on the dollar amount you're willing to donate. We will feature your comment or question live on the screen as we go along tonight. All right, without any further ado, let's get into tonight's topics. And obviously starting with the movie side of things, where I wanted to firstly set things up before we got the footage that we're going to disseminate. We had the CinemaCon presentation by Warner Brothers Discovery, where James Gunn obviously appeared on stage with Rachel Brosnahan, Nicholas Hoult, and David Corenswet. And obviously that was part of their reveal of their upcoming slate of films and projects. And during that 2-hour panel, they showed a presentation of a 5-minute preview of the upcoming Superman movie. I believe it was slightly different to what we got online a little bit later on. And there is a version that is obviously screening in front of a Minecraft movie in theaters at the moment. And we'll go into what some of the differences are. But it was obviously interesting for those who were in attendance. A lot of them came out of that presentation and were quickly online to talk about what they saw and try to describe what the footage was, not knowing that obviously we would eventually get that online footage released online, or a version of that, which was announced by David Corenswet, Rachel Brosnahan, and Nicholas Holt in this little social media video that they put together. Here it is.
Hey guys, we have something really special for you.
It's an extended preview of Superman.
You can check it out in theaters soon. We can't wait for you to see it.
So that was the little promotional video that they put together announcing the availability of the footage in the theaters. Now, we got a version of that online. It was posted across social media and obviously on YouTube via the official DC YouTube channel and others. And while we can't play that for you here for obvious reasons due to copyright laws, because we don't want to get the video stream blocked, we are going to look at it from a series of stills that we can pull up, and you've obviously, hopefully by now, seen the 5-minute preview many times, and this is what we got to look at to start with. We had, obviously, what we've already seen was, from the trailer, Superman crash landing in the snow, in the ice, and then whistling for Krypto. What we aren't showing here was that obviously Krypto has a longer reaction to Superman calling him with the whistle, and being Krypto, thinks it's all fun and games and has a bit of a play with Superman, jumping all over him, and obviously Superman is in a lot of pain and has many injuries, and Krypto's joyful pouncing on him is not doing Superman any favors, and he grabs his leg and he's like, "Oh, stop, Krypto, stop!" And Krypto realizes eventually that there's something wrong and licks Superman's face, and then does that curious head thing that dogs do when he's being told an instruction, and Superman says to him, "Take me home." And Krypto finally gets the message, grabs the cape and starts dragging Superman through the ice, which in itself seems pretty painful. And as they approach a certain area of the snow, we get the Fortress of Solitude emerging out of the snow in a beautiful display of ice crystals that is completely different to any other version of the Fortress of Solitude. When I say completely different, I do mean that it is not in the shape of the fortress that we've normally see. It's a different kind of structure, but it is crystalline. Your thoughts on what we've seen so far, or what we've just discussed so far?
So my first reaction to it was reminding of back in 2013 when Rachel was in her car accident. She was on the mend, and our dog Gracie would jump on her ribs, which were healing, and just because she was being playful, because she was only a year old at that point. So watching Krypto, I was just like, okay, so they know how dogs are, and that was really great. I loved that. The fortress looked a lot like the fortress that's been more recent in the comics. There was that cover it was one of the Return of Kal-El Returns chapters with all of the characters floating above the fortress. It looked very similar to that. But more than anything, I loved the S symbol coming on the door and the door opening. It was just like one of the common things that I saw online, because unfortunately I spent a lot of time on social media this weekend, which I don't recommend at all. But one of the things that I kept seeing is a lot of people saying it feels like the Silver Age, it feels like the Silver Age, or it feels like All-Star Superman, which feels like the Silver Age. So like everything up to this point in the trailer, I was like completely on board with. I loved it.
Mark?
I loved, of course, we'll talk about the Silver Age. Back in the Silver Age, you were always usually able to see the fortress, but it had the gigantic key, obviously, that no one could work, so it really wouldn't matter. You couldn't get in. But this was just different. I love it. Came out of the ground, and we get the big S that then opens it up. The whole stuff with Krypto was just adorable. I mean, I just loved that. That was just great. That was typical. I haven't had a dog, but I know dogs, and it just seemed very much something that a dog would do. Would just see its master and start hopping up and down.
Yep.
So that was adorable, and yeah, I mean it's still Crystal, but it's something different. They're not going with the Superman the movie, the Christopher Reeve um, Fortress, which I'm very glad they didn't do that. I love it, for the movies and all that, but I think it's been way, way overdone. So they took that and they did their own thing with it, and I think it looks great.
Yeah, so obviously the door to the fortress responds to Crypto's bark, which is a nice touch. And it opens up, and then he makes his way inside. And before we know it, we have these Superman robots, Fortress of Solitude robots with different numbers on their chests, which are very much All-Star Superman inspired. And they're one of those robots, number 12, I believe, is voiced by Alan Tudyk, who has himself voiced Superman before. Is probably best known to people from other roles that he's done, including the series Resident Alien, which I love. And then there you've got them, coming to Superman to pick him up and take him through to be examined. It's funny the little banter they have between the restaurants, because the what number was the female one that was new?
I think she's 12 and he's 4.
Oh, he's 4 and she's 12. Yeah, you're
He's
right.
for, yeah.
Yeah, so he introduces robot number 12. She's new, and then she kind of giggles at Superman, looks at her, and it's very kind of cute the way Superman, even in all his pain, thanks them and acknowledges them, and they're like, "Yeah, you don't have to thank us. Like we don't have really any emotions to appreciate what you're saying, but thank you anyway." And that was kind of really I like that banter. But then they take him to the Fortress science room, I guess, and they're examining him and identify all his injuries, internal injuries, collapsed lung, broken ribs, and all the something with his intestines and all that kind of stuff, and determine that a dose of yellow sun radiation will cure him. And as they set about pointing the fortress, which I thought was really cool, the fortress actually spins around on its axis to point towards the sun where it is in the sky at the moment, to douse Superman with solar radiation. I love the design of the interior of the Fortress of Solitude. I love the design of the robots. Your thoughts on this aspect of it up to this point?
I like the banter, like you were saying. It was really cool. I like that he says we don't have any emotions, and the first thing 12 does is get all giddy because Superman looked at her. So, but the thing that struck me about this whole thing about the way the fortress opened up, about the fact that it does, like you said, it rotates to point to the sun. And I said this back when the first trailer hit. I think I said it then on the show that this is going to be the most comic book inspired Superman film we've ever gotten.
Mm-hmm.
And that is very much the case. It feels like a comic book comes to life. Specifically, as I said, it feels kind of a Silver and Bronze Age comic book come to life. You can tell that All-Star Superman, probably not the plot, but in terms of how everything looks and the feel of the scenes that we've seen so far, are all very much right out of that playbook. And it was kind of galling. Again, don't go on social media for extended periods of time. But you remember in Ghostbusters when they're like, "Don't look in the trap," and he's like, "I looked in the trap." Yeah, don't talk online. I talked online. And the amount of, compared to when the first trailer came out, the amount of hate that this was getting, like, intensified, especially over on X. Threads and Blue Sky were pretty tame, but X were especially where the more committed of the Snyder Bros decided to come out of wherever they'd been hiding to bash every single part of it. And one of them was the robots. Somebody was saying how the robots on the CW looked better than this, and I don't know what they're talking about there. How Superman's all beat up and he needed help, whereas Henry Cavill just flew into the sun. Henry Cavill didn't need any help healing, except the 5 members of the Justice League that had to steal his body and put it in a bunch of water with a mother box and, hit it with a lightning bolt. Yeah, but other than that, he needed absolutely no help. They're absolutely right on that. So, but that's me getting into the weeds. Did you also notice that everyone became a complete and utter expert on Krypton physiology over the weekend? That was the best part. Is like everybody understood exactly how like why was he screaming when the sun was hitting him? Why was he screaming? Well, if you've got 14 broken bones and a bunch of internal injuries and that's healed instantly, it's gonna hurt. I don't care if you're invulnerable. If you're invulnerable, you shouldn't get broken bones. But guess what? He's got broken bones. So, I don't know. It was just like I engaged with one person and I shouldn't have, but it was funny how I was making a comment that these people just don't want any joy in life. And apparently that was me being a hater. So, yeah, it was typical Snyder Bro logic, but...
Yeah, I don't get the whole hate thing. I mean, if that's, I guess there are some people that's their thing. That's they want to pull it apart and they want to hate it because it's not what they wanted, and so therefore everybody who likes it is an idiot. But yeah, have we seen Superman in pain when he's in the yellow sun? Maybe not in any of the movies that we've seen, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't come up with something new. And that's what kind of gets on my goat about these arguments is that everything that it's done that is a replica or what they think is similar to this, they go, oh, look, he's just copying, and then when he does something new, oh, that's not right, that's never been done before. Which way do you want it, folks? Do you want it just to not be a copy, or do you want it not to have anything new? Like, you can't have it both ways, I'm sorry.
I don't know. It's I did see someone on Facebook who showed one of the covers. I think it was something after Final Night in the '90s with him screaming with getting sun radiation on him, and he's screaming and I'm like this kind of thing has happened before. Yeah, true. Maybe in the movies we haven't. When Henry Cavill flies up to the sun in Justice League he didn't scream. Oh, okay. So that means he can't scream. There's many things going on here. First of all, at this time, we don't know who he was fighting, what he was fighting. We do know Superman can be hurt depending on the circumstance. We've seen it many, many times, in the comics and in the movies. That doesn't have to do with kryptonite. It's just ridiculous, and it's like I just don't understand. First of all, this movie is its own thing anyway. Mm-hmm. I mean, and again, we could cite many examples, pro and con, but the movie's its own thing, and we have seen Superman hurt, and we have seen him screaming in pain, and we have seen many of these things. I mean, is this just the Snyder Bros, or no? There's probably other people who aren't as big of fans or who are also complaining about this type of thing. And I'm like, man, either you really haven't read any Superman comics, or you just, maybe you don't want any joy in life. You just don't, this is just supposed to be something for us to look forward to, something different, something for us to get excited about. What is all the hate? So what? This is the first preview. We don't know all the circumstances. Chill out. Just, if you don't like it, you don't like it. Okay. But, just kind of be cool with it for now and either like it or just say, all right, look, it's not my thing, but let's see what happens because we don't know the circumstances. Yeah. And obviously we're not getting that because that's just not how we roll, I guess, as fans and certain types of fans, I get it, but
Yeah.
wow. And just to comment on the robots, I love the robots.
Okay.
I loved All Star Superman on that. It's definitely one of my favorite stories. So anything calling back to that is great. But I love the robots. I love the whole look of all of that. So yeah, that's that's how I feel about all of that.
Yeah, very cool. And then obviously from that point onwards, we got a mix up of the trailer that we've already seen. There was a bit of dialogue that we wasn't in the original trailer, and that's when Lex turns away from seeing Superman fly by, and he says he's back. And so there's that bit of dialogue that wasn't in the original trailer, but obviously we saw that footage from the trailer. And beyond that, there wasn't really anything extra except the end. We got this really beautiful visual of the logo and the rays behind it, which many people have already created into GIFs and wallpapers and things for your phone, and it was really beautiful. And the music, we can't forget to talk about the music, how uplifting and just emotionally charged. Hearing that version of the John Williams theme, but done obviously differently, is just, I'm just loving that aspect of it too, Michael.
Yeah, one of the one of the things that came up when people were posting stills is the shot at the end where the giant eyeball thing is shooting into Metropolis, and we were all like, "Why?" People were like, "Why wasn't Superman doing anything?" Apparently, Green Lantern's fighting it. Because there's a shot of the Green Lantern beam, and James Gunn did say he was there the entire time. You just didn't see him. And I'm like, okay, so it's not that Superman is letting this thing destroy the city. The other heroes are fighting it, and probably at the end, Superman's the one that has to go and take care of it after he has whatever scene with Lois, which works just fine. The best thing about this 5-minute preview is that it tells you really nothing about the film. We still don't know the overall plot. We don't know what the kaiju is that we see. We don't know why Lois and Mr. Terrific are fighting or with those soldiers at the end, but still gets you excited for the movie. So we're getting to see bits and pieces of it, but it's not really revealing anything. We're not seeing like the entire film in the trailer. And it just got me more excited for the movie because I'm like, okay, so this is part of the tone. It's going to be kind of fun, but there's obviously a lot of action. I loved actually hearing Lex talk for the first time. And the way he said he's back, it's just like, okay, so they're tracking him. Okay, that's cool. So again, we get to see more, but it's 5 minutes out of a 2-hour and 20-minute film. So we still got 2 hours and 15 minutes to be excited about.
Yeah, definitely. Now, so there is supposedly some other footage that was, I think, shown in CinemaCon, which revealed a little bit more of the romance between Superman and Lois, which we didn't get. And there were obviously a lot of interviews conducted during CinemaCon as well, which we'll get into in a second. But was there any other final comments on the preview, that the extended preview, the sneak peek that we saw, that either of you guys want to comment on?
I will say that it does its job. I'm watching this whole scene, and that shows the sun coming down, and he's screaming, and I'm just waiting to see the next thing. What's going to happen next? And I'm ready for it. And all of a sudden, it goes to the rest of the trailer and all that. And that's just what you wanted to do. You wanted to get you excited, or you wanted to get, oh, what's going to happen now? And that's just how I felt. It was just very there's something very majestic about it. I mean, I think any other trailer that might come out, because I'm sure there probably will be another trailer, I would think, after this. But I don't think it's necessary. Not that I won't watch it. Of course I'll watch it. I'll watch it for myself, and I'll watch it so we can discuss it here. But I just don't think it's really necessary. I mean, I think this did its job as far as I was concerned. But
yeah, I think there will still be a trailer coming out. I think James Gunn has even admitted that he's working on the final trailer at the moment, and with nearly 3 months until the release of the film, there is obviously an opportunity there to bring a final trailer to the theaters and to online and all that, and on TV. There'll be TV spots, I'm sure, hundreds of them, not hundreds, okay, dozens of them. But I'm sure we'll be seeing different versions and mix-ups of the footage that we've already seen. But there will definitely, I'm sure, be another trailer before the film hits theaters.
Yep, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, hey, we're a little over less than 2 weeks to Superman Day. So,
That's true.
Yeah.
That's probably where we'll see it.
I'm just saying. I kind of hope, but if they go into May or June, that's fine too.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been getting enough. It's not like we've been getting things that dribs and drabs. We got a teaser back in December. We got this now, so it all feels like it tracks.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people still complaining, Warner Brothers aren't doing enough to promote this film. Then they release 5 minutes, and then people going, they're releasing too much. It's like, well, again.
Yeah, and Minecraft had a $157 million opening weekend.
Yeah, it's number
which
one
means
movie
there
in the
were a
world.
lot of eyes on the theaters that play, on Superman in the theaters that played this,
especially
to
younger
an audience
audiences
that really needs to see it.
Yeah.
Though there were.
Yes.
Ever read something online and think that it's just a complete lie? Because I was reading this one post. It's like, my 2 boys were there and they were just completely bored through the whole thing. And I'm like, is this like the guy that has the girlfriend in Canada? Like, he totally introduced you to her, but she's home right now. So I don't know. Maybe I'm burnt out on interacting with other human beings.
Yeah, don't do that, Mike. Take some time away.
Stop it.
All right. Well, let's move on to some of those interviews that have taken place since CinemaCon. In a revealing interview with Time Magazine, David Corenswet opened up about how he's trying to keep his life normal in suburban Philadelphia as he prepares to become one of the biggest names in the world. As far as when you play Superman, you just become instantly a household name. So he's preparing for that. But it was a great interview where he spoke about his life and preparing to play Superman and some of the things that he's feels about the film and what other people have told him. So if you want to read that, at time.com is the website to have a look at. And there's obviously some photos that go along with that of David Corenswet posing for as like in a photo shoot. So that was a cool interview. And then there was some other ones. Obviously, there was one where he spoke about his transformation, getting into the gym, and how that all worked out. That one was with GQ.com. And in another interview with E.T., a video interview this time from CinemaCon, he actually speaks to the whole work, the whole process of working out. Have a look at this one. Where is it? Not seeing it. Let me see. Here it is. E.T.
Well, I think that they happened at the same time. I started in the gym. That was James' second thing that he said to me was, I want you to work on your shoulders and your vulnerability.
That's true.
So about a month into my intense gym routine, I realized that I think I was preparing for the role mentally by spending every day several hours by myself lifting very heavy things. There's a certain solitude that comes in the gym,
right?
And you're just there with yourself, and you're the only one holding yourself accountable. Well, obviously Paolo, my trainer, was, but there's something.
Oh, Paolo's gonna be so happy.
Deserves to mention. But I think Superman has a certain solemn loneliness to him, where he wants so desperately to be connected to humanity.
Totally.
And he'll never quite be one of them. So I found a little piece of that early on.
So James,
So there's just a little bit of that interview with E.T. So if you want to check that out, the full thing is up on our website, where he opens up about the whole process of working out in the gym and the solitude that comes with that, and how that kind of even helped him prepare for the role.
Yeah, I think Brandon Routh talked about that a lot too, about how working out really was part of the preparation to play the character mentally as well as physically. I don't remember. Did Cavill? I know Cavill talked about his workout, but I don't know if he talked about how it played into
No, I don't recall.
his preparing for the role. I think that the big story I remember from the workouts was Russell Crowe recognizing Cavill from when Cavill was a teenager and asking him about acting, which was adorable. But
Yeah. So then there's been some other ones. This is another part of an interview from Fandango where they spoke to the cast during CinemaCon. Here's a little bit of that.
Relationship that Superman has with Krypto. Why do they need each other in this film? And what do they bring out in each other?
Krypto needs Superman. Superman doesn't need Krypto.
Okay.
Krypto's just been it's sort of a foster situation. Superman is taking care of this dog. He loves dogs, as you know, most people do. But Krypto, as James has described, is the worst dog in the world with superpowers. So he's always destroying the Fortress of Solitude and hunting wildlife and just always getting into trouble, never listening. And although there's a great love and affection between Superman and dog, it's honestly more trouble than it's worth.
And does it build?
So there you go. There's a bit of that conversation about the relationship between Superman and Krypto. And they also, in that interview, go on about the relationship, the romance between Lois and the Man of Steel. But yeah, talking about the worst dog in the world with superpowers, that's got to be fun. I mean, there are some troublesome dogs out there that are a little bit mischievous, and they've got a good heart, but they're just chaos, a furball of chaos. So it sounds like Krypto is of that ilk.
yeah, I don't buy for a second that Superman doesn't need Krypto. That felt
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I'm just
thought the same
saying.
thing.
It's just, yes, it might be a foster situation, but you can't keep. Sorry, this is close to home because I've now, we have two right now. We've had as many as 4 all at once until Boo passed back in 2018, and I was never much of a dog person before we got Boo back in 2002, and now I can't imagine not being a dog person. So when people are like, he doesn't need Krypto, I'm like, you're a liar. This is Superman trying to keep an emotional distance because I guess he thinks he's going to have to give the dog up. Where's the dog going to go? Like, you have it at the Fortress of Solitude for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. Very good. There's that relationship between Krypto. And then there's one from Rachel Brosnahan. She spoke to Today about playing Lois. So here's a little bit of that interview with Rachel.
We just showed the trailer, and people are flipping out. Is this kind of like the biggest kind of action movie, iconic, I mean, like in the DC universe thing that you've done? And what's your experience been so far?
It's been wild. This is a brand new world for me.
You're going to play Lois, by the way, I should mention. Yeah.
But it's been so much fun. I mean, this is... I'm not necessarily the audience for these films, but I have loved Superman since the Christopher Reeve, Margot Kidder Superman movies. Yeah. And so it was so exciting when this came up, and it's being made with so much love. Everybody involved just loves Superman and loves this cast and loves this project. And so, I mean, that's the greatest joy as an actor, to be a part of something where everyone's just happy to be there.
And Lois Lane.
So there you go. There's just a bit of that interview, and you can see again that whole video on our website from the Today morning show. Then there was some more interviews. This one with Collider from Rachel talking about her role again as Lois Lane. Here's a bit of that.
An individual question for you. My number 1 film of the year is Superman, and cannot wait. And one of the reasons I'm so excited is that every first film recently has been about like setting up things. And what's unique about Superman is that you're joining in the middle of everything.
Yeah.
Like the movie opens and you're like, it's been going on for a while. This is just the beginning.
Yeah.
So can you sort of talk about that aspect of the film and what you're excited for people to see?
Well, now I feel like I can say a little bit more because James really busted it wide open at CinemaCon. David and I had been trying not to say so many things for weeks leading up, and James just laid it all out. Yeah, I also love that this is not an origin story. We've seen the origin story done so well a number of different times, but we come into a world that already exists. Lois and Clark are working at the Daily Planet. Monsters exist in Metropolis. Lex Luthor has Luthor Corps. And we drop.
So there again, that's a bit of that interview that you can explore more of her answer about this is not an origin film. We are dropped into the middle of a story, so to speak, or a middle of a world that already has existed for a while. And I think that's a great way to go because people know the origin story of Superman over and over again, regardless of how aware what is the origin of this Superman, how he came, Martha, Jonathan, all that kind of stuff. That can kind of get played out and we can kind of fill in the gaps as we go along with his story, but we don't need to see the death of Krypton, being sent in a rocket ship, the whole Smallville part. We want to have a Superman adventure. We don't need, 3/4 of the film to be taken up with that.
But to be fair, we could still probably see all of that. It's just not the point of the movie.
Yes.
It's entirely possible that it'll be like an Incredible Hulk situation where like the origin plays out the opening credits, which I think saves a lot of time. But I absolutely agree that it's kind of like when they introduced Spider-Man into the MCU during Civil War and you didn't see how he got his powers. You're just seeing him with his powers and Tony Stark gives him his first real suit. I think not doing an origin is the best way to like get the audience on your side early, because then they're not sitting around waiting for the character they came to see. It worked in Superman the movie and it worked in Batman Begins because I think people were there for that. But now, superhero movies and comic book movies are so commonplace that, and like you said, Steve, Superman's got like one of the most well-known origins on the face of the planet, and you can Grant Morrison boiled it down into 3 panels. I mean, three panels on a page. So I think it's best just to get to the Superman, get to the Lex Luthor, get to the Lois Lane. I always get caught up on them calling it Luthor Corps because it's a corporation. So shouldn't it be Luthor Corp? Should it be Lex Corp? I don't know. Maybe I'm being too pedantic on that.
Mark,
it's apples and oranges. I mean, I've heard different things. People say core.
You mentioned Apple, isn't it Apple Core when they're talking about?
Apple Core. That is
that's spelled CORE.
No, I'm not talking about the Apple Core, as in, but I'm saying the company.
Oh, Apple. Yeah,
but
you say Apple.
Like even
Let's
the
see,
anyway.
insane.
So,
yeah.
Well, that's
you're
also
right.
to be fun.
I would always call it Luthor Corp.
But yeah. Anyway, yeah. I forget was that what we were talking about?
Krypton or Krypton?
Krypton.
Krypton.
As far as
with a K
Lana or Lana.
CRI.
As far as origin stories, I mean, you could always also go back to Batman '89, where he's already Batman. I mean, obviously, we're still learning. We meet the Joker, blah blah blah. We haven't had Robin yet, but still, we haven't. We don't go through his whole. We do see. Obviously, there's a scene where we flashback where you see his parents being shot, as we do in every version of Batman. But he's already Batman. We don't see him. What he does beforehand in order to do that. We do see some of that obviously in Batman Begins, because like Mike said, that was kind of the point. We've never, in the movies, we never really had that origin at all. So Batman Begins brings us some of that. But you don't really need it. I mean, all you really need, first of all, we know, but all you really need is him talking to Lois saying, well, my parents put me in the rocket, to escape Krypton, and the Ken's found me. That's all you really need, and we know where his power comes from. We know all of that. So, and again, you mentioned through, showing a little bit through the credits, you can do that too. But as long as the movie doesn't begin in Krypton and we see Krypton and the explode and all of that, we don't need it.
No,
you just don't need that anymore.
Just a quick shout out to my mother who is watching us live. Hi, Mum.
Hey, okay, everyone, on your best behavior.
That's right.
Oh
I don't
yeah,
want to get Steve in trouble after this.
Yeah.
Very good.
We're good kids.
We're the good kids. All right. Well, that's some of the interviews. And again, you can have a look at all of those on our website, supermanhomepage.com. But some of the, been some like leaked stuff that's come out online. In particular, some of the merchandise. I saw this image. I'm not sure who originated it, where it came from. But this is a bit of a sneak peek at some of the, like the Funko Pops, some of the vinyl figures, some of the action figures. Interesting that there's a Kryptonite Nevermore comic book up on the top there. I'm not sure what that's all about or how that relates. But
That's one of the facsimile editions.
right, okay, yes. But yeah, you've got obviously Metamorpho. Yeah, and you've got Krypto there a number of times. You've got Lex Luthor, different Superman figures, some of the action, some of the other superheroes that are involved here. I love the packaging and the artwork. This is looking all very exciting.
I really like the McFarlane Deluxe figures. They look really sharp. I'm guessing that's the replica, the facsimile of Action Comics #1 that's actual size, because it's a little bigger than the Superman comic that it's on top of. But it's just like, I looked at this and I immediately started feeling, you know how people like have phantom pains and stuff like that? My wallet started hurting.
I can understand
like
that.
severely, and I'm just waiting to walk into Walmart, because I went to Walmart recently and they actually had one of the shirts in the t-shirt section. I'm not quite really happy with the blue of that shirt. It's very light compared to the others, but looking at these figures and looking at the comics, everything just looks really good, and I can't wait for it to come out.
Yeah, there'll be
Yeah,
a few
it's
things in there.
as far I mean I see what's funny is we see that's the Kryptonite Nevermore cover, and then we also see one of the packaging it's something, one of the covers or something from All Star Superman.
Correct.
That's the absolute
So I
edition.
don't know. Yeah. So I don't know if Kryptonite Nevermore means something to the movie. I don't think it does. I just
Probably
find
just
it interesting
merchandise
that
they've gotten.
Yeah.
You know what this honestly looks like? This looks like some dude went shopping and is just showing off all the things he bought that day.
Yeah, but instead it's like from 6 months down the track.
Yeah. This is a picture from the future.
Exactly. Very good. All right, well, yeah, so that's some of the merchandise that we can look forward to receiving. So obviously we're not taking a break tonight because we've got so much to get through. Nope. So again, if you do want to have comments, we are obviously listening to what you have to say in the comments there in the chats on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And if you want your comment featured live on the screen, then on YouTube, just click the dollar symbol and we'll be able to feature your comment on the screen as we go along tonight. All right, so another bit of merchandise that was released by the DC shop was this T-shirt that was exclusively to people who have signed up to the newsletter or email of the DC Studios Fan First subscribers. They got an access code to be able to purchase this Superman Repeat T-shirt. I'm not big on the design. I don't think that's really a fantastic T-shirt. Like it's nice, but it's not one that I'd be going, I've got to get that. And therefore, I'm so glad that I was a DC Fan First subscriber because I don't want to miss out. But nevertheless, it's one that's out there for fans who are interested in it.
Yep, can't get it, but that's fine.
I can give you the code if you want it.
No, I got the code.
Oh, okay.
It's just the largest that you can get it is 2XL.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
Fair
Thanks
enough.
a lot, DC. Fat shamers.
Very good. All right, let's have a look at some of the other merchandise that has been announced for elsewhere in the world of Superman, not necessarily just movie related, and there is a lot coming out, which you can understand with Superman being the flavor of the month, so to speak. And one of those is, we've just done that T-shirt, is the Iron Studios 1/10 scale statue of Superman. This is available now to order. It is, as I said, art scale line, 1/10 scale statue. Is a limited edition. It's priced at $205 US and ready to ship immediately. And it is from, as I said, Iron Studios, and obviously has a really beautiful base there of the Krypton skyline, and Superman standing very majestically with his cape billowing out to his right-hand side.
So it's limited to 5 pieces and costs $1.5 million, right?
It doesn't actually say how many it's limited to from what I could see here, but it is a limited edition and obviously highly detailed, hand-painted, but $205, I guess, is reasonable for a statue of this size.
Yeah, I was about to say that is almost reasonable considering like most of the other things are like $1,400 or over $1,000 at the very least.
Yeah, exactly. But it is a very nice piece. So that is one definitely for collectors. But there are a lot of action figures coming out, and McFarlane Toys are obviously at the front of that with their license due to run out in about a year's time. But there is a Super Friends DC Retro Wave 12 Lex Luthor 6-inch scale action figure. This is obviously Lex Luthor in his purple and green, very Silver Age Super Friends outfit. He does have a number of extra little bits there. There is a card, obviously, with the artwork and details. What is it that he's holding? What is that in his hand? What is that he's got?
I think it's his Jackhammer of Doom. I'm not quite sure. I'm sure there's probably an episode of the Super Friends where he has something that he uses, but it has been a very long time since I've watched all of Challenge of the Super Friends, so I don't remember it off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's like he's got a blower, like he's doing the gardening and trying to get the leaves out of his.
That swamp. That swamp doesn't take care of itself.
Exactly.
He mows it, and then he's got to get the grass off the sidewalk. Otherwise, Gorilla Grodd just does nothing but complain. It's just a whole thing.
Yeah, it's the crystallizer ray.
Okay, very good.
And a Legion of Doom radio is the other item that's in there for him. So there you go. And this one's $19.99 US and expected to ship in May. So you can pre-order yours through our website, which is a great way to support the Superman homepage because we get a kickback with no extra cost to you. So if you are going to order any of these action figures that we are displaying tonight, then use the link at our website to do so. Another action figure that is also coming, this one from McFarlane Toys again, is the DC Direct Wave 4 Superman the Silver Age 7-inch scale action figure with McFarlane Toys digital collectible. This one is $27.99 US and again expected to arrive in May. But Superman is available to purchase now, and it looks like he's got a digital collectible. As I said, another set of hands. If you want him to be flying, there's a base stand, and this is looking pretty cool. It's got the S on the back of the cape for all those people who love that. Michael, I think I saw you comment that you thought this is one of the best action figure sculpts you've seen in a while.
Oh, this is hands down, outside of the Fleischer figure, the best that they've done. I would argue this is more Bronze Age Superman, with all the artwork being, Garcia Lopez, praise be his name. But the head sculpt is nice. The body sculpt is proportional. It just looks great. It's kind of sad that right here at the end, when they're losing the license next year, is when all the really good figures seem to be coming out. Like they've just cracked the code, and now it's going away.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool action figure. So that's a good one. That's a nice one to look at. And then there's Entertainment Earth are now taking orders for the DC Comics Superman PVC figural bank. So this has got obviously a coin slot at the back of his head. It's got a easily removable plastic cork at the base. It's about 8 inches tall and is available for $24.99 US, and it will ship immediately. This is kind of cute. He's not bad.
It is kind of adorable. I like that.
So yeah, somewhere to store your loose change, and so that one's not a bad looking collectible. And then there's the die-cast metal Phantom Zone projector. This is from RP Minis. They're now taking pre-orders for this one. It's $14.95 US. again, scheduled to arrive around May 20th. It includes a full-color 48-page book on Superman's array of Kryptonian technology, along with classic comic book art. So that's an interesting one.
Yeah,
I like
that
it.
one.
I really want one of those, actually.
Yeah, that'll look good on the shelf.
Yeah.
With that like ice crystal kind of base that it's sitting on, with the S on the front. Yeah, as probably newer fans might not know what the metal the Phantom Zone projector is. That's obviously what Superman uses to, and what Jor-El used to send the Kryptonian villains into the Phantom Zone, and then you can obviously also bring them out. Don't know how it works, but that's comic book technology for you.
It's a lot of tubes and wires. I'm assuming, it's all done with duct tape and everything else. Though I haven't read it yet, but I have it on the iPad. Didn't Wade recently do a Phantom Zone story last year?
Mm-hmm.
When they were doing four a month?
They did, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Was that one of the ones that you reviewed, Mark?
Absolutely, yes. Every issue.
Week. Every week for that.
Every
period.
week for 12 weeks.
Mark was like, "Is this ever going to go monthly? I'm getting burnt out here." So it has gone back monthly. So Mark's very happy about that. But so that's the Phantom Zone projector. Last week we were on April 1st, so it was April Fool's Day, and obviously we had done some April Fool's Day pranks. One was about our fake story about the 4 different crypto short films that would be coming out, and we kind of fabricated those, and that was a fun one. And the other one was about them. The DC Comics are going to be bringing out a new line of comic books, all based around Superman's cooking prowess, using the cookbook. That is the official one coming out, and that instead of fighting villains with his superpowers, he'd be finding a way to do that through his recipes, which was obviously another fake story, but a bit of fun there nevertheless. And I'm glad that fans took them in the spirit they were intended. They weren't malicious or anything like that. So just a little bit of fun. A few people said they got caught out, especially by the crypto one. But didn't want to do anything around the movie because we knew CinemaCon was happening on that Tuesday, April 1st. And that would probably get found out pretty quickly. So didn't want to do anything along those lines. But I'm glad that fans took them in the spirit that they were intended. The other thing that we also updated at the beginning of the month was the Superman homepage Super Trivia Quiz. And we've got 3 new questions that you can attempt to answer. Yes, Ramel, we did a whole souffle thing with the April Fool's Day thing about Superman's cooking. He had to get that souffle just right. So the 3 questions we're asking you in the month of April for the Superman homepage Super Trivia Quiz are, in the theatrical version of the movie Justice League, what animal does one of the boys interviewing Superman ask him if he's ever fought? In the movie Zack Snyder's Justice League, what does Superman use to break Steppenwolf's axe? And in the movie Zack Snyder's Justice League, who makes a cameo appearance in the coffee shop scene featuring Lois Lane? So if you think you know the answers to all 3 questions, don't say anything in the comments here and now. Head to supermanhomepage.com/trivia and send your answers in. We will read out or put out the names of all the people who guess all 3 answers, all 3 questions to those 3, all 3 answers to those 3 questions, I should say, correct. We'll put them in the never-ending battlers list. So get involved in the Super Trivia Quiz at the Superman homepage right now. So not too difficult, I don't think, those 3 questions, although the last one's probably a bit more for people who know their behind-the-scenes kind of trivia on the film.
Yeah.
So, head to supermanhomepage.com/trivia. Obviously, there's some conventions taking place this current weekend with a number of Superman celebrities that will be in attendance. So if you're keen, there's some all around the place, including one here in Australia in Melbourne. But some big names at Supernova Comic Con and Gaming on the Gold Coast, in Australia. Tyler Hoechlin will be there for both days. But you've got people like Arthur Adams, Frank Cho, Michael Ironside, Tom King, Jay Lee, Alex Suviak, and some others that are attending Chicago C2E2. There's one in Boston with Elena Huffman and Jensen Ackles. And there's one in Paris, Comic-Con France, where James Masters will be in attendance for that. So that is the conventions taking place this weekend. Gentlemen, any topics that you want to touch on before we wrap up tonight's show?
I'm just really excited for the fact that we're about to get into the summer of Superman.
Do you want to quickly, Michael, do This Week in History? Let's quickly do that.
Okay,
actually,
we can do that. Yeah, I can do that.
Let's do the fan favorite question. I think that's more important.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's
that's
do
more
that
important.
One. Let's jump into that quickly. I was waffling on and not realizing that. All right. What was our fan favorite question from last week, Michael?
What is your favorite episode of Smallville? And Steve J. Hunter wrote, I must say it's got to be Absolute Justice, Part 1 and Part 2. The sight of Hawkman and Dr. Fate gave me chills. Excellent actors picked for the roles in a well-written show. Justice Society forever.
Well done. Thank you very much to Steve. Next up.
And we have Lorenzo Hot Take Valdez, who wrote, I started playing the new DC Dark Legion mobile game, and I set Hot Take as my character name, so when DC superheroes talk to me in the game, that's what they call me. My favorite Smallville episode is Calling, as it's the episode in which Clark and Lana finally become a couple for the first time on the show. It features my favorite scene from the show, which is a 16 Candles homage, when Lana comes and brings Clark his birthday cake. Clark tells Lana that he needn't make a wish, as he finally has what he's been wishing for since he was 5, and they kiss.
Very good. Next up, we have Kenny Crowley Jr. Actually, it's JP Rocha is next up, and JP said, my favorite Smallville episode is Ryan, Season 2, Episode 8. Very emotional episode, and I really enjoy the Meta Warrior Angel comic. Great juxtaposition between Clark and Warrior Angel and Lex and Devilicious. Very cool. Thank you, JP.
Kenny Crowley Jr. wrote, my favorite episodes of Smallville. Wow, so many to choose from, but here is my top ones. From Season 2, Rosetta, the episode with Christopher Reeve. His cameo in the series as Dr. Virgil Swan was so amazing, and super to have generations of Superman Clark Kent actors share the screen together. Season 5's episode, Hidden, where Clark Kent gets his powers back and stops a rocket very similar to Superman the movie, where Superman stalks one of the XK-101 rockets. The pilot episode of Smallville from Season 1. Great start to the series, setting up the show. Season 10, episode Icarus, where Clark proposes to Lois Lane. And the line, Lois, will you marry me, still gets me each time, and Lois saying yes, so romantic. I'm not married yet, but if I do get married, I hope to find a woman as great as Lois Lane. And the series finale of Smallville, finale part 2. Yes, I know lots of Smallville fans have issues with this episode, but for me, the ending was perfect to Clark Kent opening his shirt and going to work as Superman. This looks like a job for Superman. Always hold on to Smallville. Hey, that's a podcast. And thanks, guys, for all you do for the Superman Super Family fan community and Superman homepage.
Thank you very much, Kenny. And last up, we had Ryan, Mark.
Ryan Ignatius Pratt wrote, there are a couple of different episodes that arguably could take the title of my favorite episode of Smallville, but if I must pick one, I guess it would be the Season 10 episode, Homecoming, the show's 200th episode, because Clark gets to meet his future self, who has already become Superman.
Very cool. So thank you to everyone for sending in those fan favorite question answers. And our new fan favorite question for this week is, what is your favorite episode of the Justice League or Justice League Unlimited animated series? So send in your answers to the email address, which is info@supermanhomepage.com. That's info@supermanhomepage.com. And we will read out the answers to those questions when we return to this segment next week. But that pretty much brings us to the end of tonight's episode. Sorry, Michael, we just ran out of time for This Week in History, but we'll touch on that again next week. Thank you to both of you, Michael and Mark, for your hosting the show with me tonight. Thanks once again, gentlemen.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
And a huge thank you to our sponsors and patrons, Rick Schutzauer, Douglas Meacham, John Patrick Van Pelt, and Tina Murray. And don't forget, the complete 1 hour video of tonight's show will remain available on our website and on our YouTube channel. But we'll be back next week on Monday, April 14th at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time for another edition of Superman Homepage Live. Hope you'll join us then. Until then, be sure to check out supermanhomepage.com for all your daily news updates on everything surrounding the Man of Steel. I'm Steve Yunus on behalf of myself, Michael Bailey, and Mark Lax. Thanks for watching Superman Homepage Live, brought to you by supermanhomepage.com.